Welcome to Paranormal Into the Night with your host, Dino Ewell. All things spooky, all things paranormal. Get set, get spooked.
Hello everybody, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night with me, of course, Dino Ewell, your host. Let me get everything out there. You can catch us at www.pitnradionetwork.com. That is where you will find everything. You can subscribe to us, you can donate, you can chat, you can do all that good stuff. Let's see, and you can also Facebook page, PITN Radio Network is a Facebook page. My Paranormal Into the Night Facebook group is my biggest page, and where we do everything. We share. That's actually where I found this guest tonight, Leonard O'Neill, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy him. I was talking to him a little bit beforehand, and excited to hear about his book. But a couple things out of the way. We are a donation station. If you could give us anything, it would help. Throw a penny at the wall, whatever. We got Voices Carry Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. And check me out tomorrow night, too. I have Audrey Starborn. We will be talking more UFOs, aliens, and she's a very, very interesting guest herself. And let's get to Leonard O'Neill. He wrote a book. Actually, he wrote 3 books, but we're going to focus on Orion Rising trilogy. And it's about UFO evidence left behind in our past through art and more. What more can I say? Let's see. Leonard O'Neill, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing?
I am doing good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. No complaints at all.
Awesome. You posted in my group there. I caught you, and I said, you want to be on? Talk about your book? And you said, sure thing. And here you are. So I guess we can go... this is a really awesome subject. Evidence is there on cave walls, in our history. All that. Why don't you tell me about the book and what got you started in writing that book?
Well, the book is it's actually it's a sci-fi book. It's a what if. What got me started in it? I actually have a group on Facebook. It's called Ancient Aliens. And it's one of the bigger groups that's on there with UFOs and the original Ancient Aliens group. There was none when I started that group some 10 years ago or so.
Wow.
We now have 33,000 people. In fact, I just checked the numbers. We had 33,333. I thought that was kind of cool. But I started the group. I've always been my whole life interested in UFOs since I was a kid. I put that in the on the back of the book. You can see that in the synopsis about me. I've always been interested in that, and the same thing like you were saying that before I saw the History Channel's show, I was looking up these pictures on the different History Channel specials or whatever, and I was seeing this stuff even though I hadn't gone to these caves. Somebody just noticed that was on the wall back there, and why is nobody talking about that? And so I started putting this stuff together. So you come forward in time, and Ancient Aliens, the television show, started putting this stuff together as well. Mm-hmm. And Von Daniken had written books that I was actually unaware of and didn't read any of his stuff. Still haven't. But coming forward, just being interested in this and working as long as we have in looking at evidence that people are out there getting and giving to us and posting on our site. And we're sifting through the stuff and saying that's bogus, this is why, that's bunk, this isn't real, that's fake, mm-hmm. Whatever. And going through that for the last 10 years, I am also a writer, and I have a binder that I write down ideas for books. And I actually was sitting down and thinking about, I had written the other 2 books that don't have anything to do with aliens, but I was looking at different things, ideas of what to write next. And it was actually my wife. I was saying, what about this? And I'd give her the bullet points, and she'd say, nah. And I'd go, yeah, you're right. I'll save that for another time. And I flipped the page and didn't say anything about the Ancient Aliens. She said, what was that? And I said, oh, this is one I've been sitting on for about 6 years, but it's about Ancient Aliens. And I've been kind of moving away from that. Little did I know that was the turning point. I was going to move right back into it. even harder than I was in it before. And she said, well, tell me about that. So I said, well, it's based on the ancient aliens theory, and I hit you really hard with ancient aliens theory throughout the book. For people who don't have any idea about the theory, or they're interested in it, or even the ones who know about the theory, you get it because I push the theory on you from the very beginning, and then in the middle, and then in the end, just really hard, because it's these two brothers who were in the military, and they're both in military intelligence, but they're in different sectors, so they never get to see each other. And one brother's trying to convince the other brother that there's a shadow government and that there really is aliens, and not everybody knows about it. And he's saying he believes it 100%. He's done the study, he's done the work, and he says they've been here forever. They were here, they left, they came back, they're still here. And his brother, doesn't believe any of it. So that's what the book in a nutshell is about. And if you don't know anything about the ancient aliens theory, you can read the book, and I'm going to teach it. I have pictures in the book to show you right off those cave walls, like you were talking about. I have, bringing into question the creation of the human race, bringing into question, all of our mathematics, all of our structures, everything that we have now. And I'm going to touch on in the next book. It's a trilogy. I'm going to have at least 3 books in the trilogy, maybe more. And I'm going to focus more on the different things that have come to light since I was writing this book in the next book, and hit you with that information as well, like our DNA, and when it became what it is today, and how quickly, and that sort of thing. But that's in a nutshell what the book is about. And if anybody out there who's listening right now doesn't have any idea what is he talking about in ancient alien theory, maybe I should give you that real quick. Alien theory. If you're all right with that, ancient alien theory is just like.
Well, first of all, I can't believe. Hey, Leonard, I can't believe you've had a group on Facebook for 10 years. So you've been at this for a while in these groups, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I started this group when there was other UFO groups there. MUFON was there, and there was other UFO groups, but nobody with the name Ancient Aliens. So I grabbed that up, and I was the very first group on Facebook called Ancient Aliens. And then probably within 3 to 4 months, then another one popped up. And then most of the groups that are out there, and you can look this up, and these people will tell you for real, yeah, he's right. Most of the groups that are out there, the owners or the administrators came from my group. I would say that out of all, I'm involved in probably 20 different groups, and there's only maybe 4 or 5 like yours. You were not in my group or had anything to do with it, and a few others. But otherwise, these guys were either people who were administrators or researchers or developers that worked with my group who left to start their own group. And I encourage that. I don't try to tell people no, and I even promote their group and try and get people to cross over. The administrators that I have, many of the administrators that I have in my group, admin for several other groups as well as mine.
Okay, yeah, very cool. I mean, spread the love, man. I mean, I've only been doing Paranormal Into the Night, which consists of all paranormal aspects, I mean, for about 1.5 years now. So that's why it just struck me.
I also have a paranormal group. I have a paranormal tech group. And a spiritual group for those people who are into that side of the paranormal. We do readings and everything.
Wow. You have to shoot me the links so I can share them then. That would be cool.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I will.
So I didn't mean to interrupt.
One is all...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, one of the groups is just paranormal tech, dealing with like the ghost hunters and all that stuff, and the technology, and looking for and finding, and then and posting. Here's some pictures of some crazy ghosts or whatever. And then the other one is completely the spiritual side of spiritualism.
Okay, and do you get into both of those? You get into all aspects of the paranormal too?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always been interested in the paranormal tech, just because you want to try and prove that, definitely you want to prove that there are ghosts or spirits or whatever. And then on the spiritual aspect, spiritual plane of things, we can get into that in another conversation. But yeah, no, I'm very involved in that as well.
Okay, cool.
And all that stuff.
Cool. So yeah, let's. I did interrupt you, but yeah, go on with the ancient aliens theory that you got going.
Yeah. So the ancient aliens theory is that in the remote past, a long time ago, somewhere, the numbers are not quite sure. Somewhere between 10 to 150,000 years ago, a race of people came down to this earth to mine gold. They needed gold for their atmosphere because they had messed up their atmosphere to the point where their ozone layer was depleted, and gold is a great reflector for all the radiation that's out there. That's why we use that on our when the guys are out in space. They have one of the face masks that they pull down that's gold. It's you can't see through it unless you're in space and the sun's shining on it. Otherwise, you put it on, it's like a sunglasses, but it's made of gold, so it reflects all the stuff back out, and they can see, and they don't get any kind of radiation in their faces. So gold works really well. And they came here and they were looking for gold, mining gold, and they needed a workforce because they didn't want to do all the work. So they looked around and they found the primates that were here on the planet, and realized their DNA was similar in a way that they could blend their DNA with this animal. And they could create a hybrid between their race and this animal that would be smarter and be intelligent enough to be able to work with and have them believe that we're their gods and have them mine the gold and the stuff for us, for them. So that's what they did, and they were here. They were telling us they were their gods and that they were supposed to be mining gold for these gods. And this group of people were called Anunnaki. That's what the people call them. They found these tablets in Sumeria out in the desert of which is now modern-day Iraq, or modern-day Iran. It was in that area because it encompassed both Iran and Iraq. The Sumer did Sumeria. So they found these tablets and they translated them back in the early turn of the century in the 1900s. And since then have been trying to make sure that they've done it right. So the theory is they came down, they did that, they created us, and then they left and they tried to kill us off. But not all of us died. And they didn't come back. That was the deluge, where they always talk about God flooded the earth to get rid of the humans because he was angry. That was supposedly these aliens that did this. Then another race of aliens came down here, and this was another human race from another part of the universe that came here and found us and saw, hey, there's something wrong with them. They need another upgrade. They're almost there, but something's wrong. So they gave us a second upgrade. Now this would have been the aliens that we call Zeus, Apollo, the aliens that we call Odin and Thor. This would be that race of aliens that came down here, and they helped us. They taught us everything that we know. They taught us how to speak. They taught us mathematics. They taught us how to build roads. They taught us how to build aqueducts. Everything that we have, we learned when those aliens were here and taught this stuff to us. And
so did Anunnaki give up on us and then just take off?
No, they keep coming back. This is where we get to like the modern day. They live on a planet supposedly that only gets close enough for them to come here every so many thousands of years, 20,000 years or so. And they have returned, and they're due now to return.
Right, Nibiru, Planet X.
Last time what happened was when they returned, I guess there was a big war, and that was the War of the Gods that they tell about in the Hindu history books. That they tell about where they came back and there was other gods that were here, and there was this big war of the gods in the sky, and then like all of them disappeared. But we know now that they're back, but we don't know about the Anunnaki. They're supposed to be coming back soon. But there's other races that are here now, according to the ancient aliens theory. There's some people say it's up to 50 or more races of aliens that are here. I don't know that I believe that wholeheartedly, but I would believe 5 or 6 different alien races easily. But just from the things that I've seen and things that I've learned.
Yeah, I know everybody's
can't prove any of it.
No. Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's lots of stories out there, and people do. I mean, there's the reptilian are still here.
Right.
The alien Greys.
The Greys, right? The Nords, the tall Viking Nords. Yeah. So yeah, they're supposed to all be here, and our government knows about it. If people in this country don't realize there's a project called Disclosure Project, and those guys were vetted in because they were trying to make contact with the aliens outside of the government to, saying, look, you guys aren't necessarily the best representation of our planet. So we're trying to get together with some people who are academics, who are a little more not military, not militaristic and not greedy. And they didn't like that idea. So there was some big issues between the federal government, our federal government, and this group. Well, they've kind of made their peace. But what people in this country don't know is that if you get outside of this country, most of the nations outside of this country have already came forward and said, yes, aliens exist.
Right.
But the American government doesn't want us to let you guys know that. And they're telling us to not tell our people either, but we're tired of listening to them, and we're just going to go ahead and tell you. But the American government still says they just deny that. They just flat don't let that information get here. And when it does, it ends up on these groups like I have and like you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then people think that, people think we're kooks, because back, they still laugh. And when they go, UFOs, little green men, ha, ha, ha. And they still make those big jokes, about that. But it's not as much. Back, when I was a kid, I'm 48 years old. I'm going to be 49 this year. When I was a kid, you asked a poll of people who believed in just a life other than ours or alien races, people that may live on another planet. It was like 15% of the population, if that, 10%.
Right.
When they came out with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that guy was a kook. It was crazy, right?
Exactly.
So that was just insane. That was in the 70s. But now it's completely flea-flopped around to where it's almost 60% of the people of the United States, even though our government is denying that fact. The 60% of the population is saying, yeah, we do believe there has to be life on some besides us out there, or even here. So it's getting to the point where it's becoming a little more commonplace, and people, I think, are ready, and that's why I wrote this book. And I'd like to turn it into a movie because there is no movie that is really, truly based on, we have Prometheus, who touched on it for like a half second to tell you that it was based on ancient alien theory, and then by the time the credits rolled, you forgot that they based it on ancient aliens theory. And they didn't even explain that that's what it was. They just went, look, we found this thing in a cave, and now we're going there, and then the whole thing was, they created us and they tried to destroy us, but they didn't get a chance because they destroyed themselves. Was so close to ancient aliens theory. Those of us who know the theory went, see, they based that movie on the theory, but didn't want to do it 100%, probably for fear that they would get sued. Well, no one's going to sue you over that. Everybody wants the information to get out there, and we have to work together to get it out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not sure why they would say that my dog's going crazy upstairs. What the heck is going on? I hope you don't hear that, man.
I have 4 cats, and they keep wandering by and looking at me, and I'm pretty sure 1 or 2 of them has already started meowing. So if anybody hears meowing going on around me, I have 4 cats. So
usually
I am in the dining room talking right now instead of in my office. So
I don't hear. I don't hear nothing, man. But man, my dog is I got my office on the lower level, and we got hardwood floors upstairs, and the dog's going kind of running nuts. It's kind of a little, kind of tinier dog, so it's running all around. I'm like going, man, I hope this don't show up on the mic. But anyways. Well, what do you think about? I mean, there's plenty of people out there right now too that believe. We are dealing with aliens right now. I mean, there's lots of groups out there. I mean, Andromeda Council is one of them. I mean, what's your opinion on that? I mean, are we really that deep into, what's going on in the universe and the government together, working together?
I think there's different factions. I think it's always going to be that way. We humans are greedy, so you're going to have different factions because everybody's self-entitled, and they all think that they should be the one that should be the leader and talking to the whoever. So I do believe wholeheartedly that we're far more advanced than our governments pretend, and I can break it down for you. I think I'll break it down for you really quickly. If you look at, and some people would say maybe the aliens came and left, but no. Okay, we were in covered wagons at the turn of the century. Okay, in 1890, we were driving covered wagons pulled by horses. By 1965, we were walking on the moon.
Oh yeah, that right there says it all. I mean, that's
okay. So if you look at the technology and the advancement that we made from that time period, from covered wagons to walking on the moon, okay, look at the technological advances that we made from then. Then come forward, because you have almost the same time period now, 1965 to 2016. We should be, if the advancement continues going the way that it did, we should have advanced at least the same amount in that same amount of time. We shouldn't have gone backwards, but we haven't advanced at all since then. The only thing that has happened since then is our technology has gotten slightly better. We have cell phones, we have computers, and that's about it. And our cars are run by computers now. The combustion engine is exactly the same as it was in 1965. The only difference is that it's all modified to run by computers now, so the emissions are a little bit better.
Right.
Think about we had a space capsule. We upgraded by 1978 to a space shuttle, and we've done nothing. The upgrades we stopped as things started progressing. Like if you look at the NASCAR cars, they were progressing into the Formula cars. There was your evolution. and they had to stop the Formula cars because they were going so fast they were going to take off like rockets. So they had to stop that future from going. So somewhere around 1975, they even stopped the automobile from advancing. We have jet airplanes that started in the 70s, in the late 60s, and the 70s. Nothing has changed since then. We just have better computers running them. So where's the missing link of the technology that we should have right now?
Exactly,
compared to what we did have, and the way that it went from 1900 to 1965, and then from 1965 to 2016. And I'll tell you where it is.
Okay.
I'll tell you where it is. When people look up in the sky and they see that big black triangle UFO that they think that is a UFO, to you and me it's a UFO because it's an unidentified flying object, because we don't know what it is. That UFO, that spaceship, I believe is owned by the federal government of the United States of America. And in one of the videos that I posted in my group, all these guys, Lockheed, Martin, all the guys who owned these companies that were designing military aircraft for our government and designing jet airplanes to fly, and have these big companies and all this money, they're all old men now in their 90s and 80s. They're all dying. Just before they do, they come out and they make videos. And they tell all. And every time I get a hold of one of those videos, I post it in my group, and we've had them on there several times. Yeah. And I wish we could post a set of videos and pin more than just one video. I wish we could pin, because I'd have like 50 that are the top best videos to watch pinned. So these guys come out and they say, you see that movie E.T., Star Trek, Star Wars. These are his words. He said, "We have all that and more. We can now take E.T. home."
Well, this totally, now that you're talking about that, just puts something in my head here, because everybody, even myself, thought, how is it that we went to the moon and then we stopped and we haven't really advanced? I mean, we've got the International Space Station, but pretty much our space program has pretty much been dead, other than these satellites that are going out there. And you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe we went to the moon, something happened, and our technology just took off, and now secretly over all these years we've been advancing in secret with new craft, and we're out there. We're able to travel, and that's why we're not hearing nothing.
Well,
it doesn't make it.
I can show you the progression. I can show you the progression of that as well. And a lot of people have forgotten about this. I grew up in California, so when this happened in California, I was still living there. I've only been in Arizona now for about 3.5, 4 years, and I'll be moving back to California in the next couple of months. Going back to the Bay Area where I'm from. But here's the progression of that people don't remember. Back in the 80s, there was an airplane that crashed in Southern California. And because it crashed, the military had to come out and tell us what it was because it crashed. And that's when they said, "Oh, that's our stealth fighter. We have this stealth prototype fighter plane that can't be seen on radar, and we just crashed one of them." So then
I remember that.
"Well, we also have this big bomber that's a stealth bomber, and you can't see it on radar." And guess what color they were? They were black. They were exactly faded black in coloring, and all of a sudden then that disappeared. Soon as the popularity of that conversation about stealth aircraft just went away from the media, where's the progression from that? Okay, so if you go from us having these jets to these jets who were starting to be being shaped like that, they were both the stealth fighter. If you look at it, was almost a triangle, right? And the bomber was also a flying wing. So the progression and natural compression, going forward, if you're paying attention, would be the next step would be that big aircraft that you see flying through the air that people don't know. It was over here in Phoenix, right? And they witnessed it back in, when was that, 87 or 97? They witnessed it here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I would have saw it from where I'm at right now.
Yeah, 97.
Oh yeah, I believe that that's an aircraft that is owned by and operated by the United States government, and I believe that they can travel, to wherever they want. But the problem that you have is I don't think they can still open up the Einstein-Rosen bridge, the wormhole. I think they're having a problem with opening up a wormhole, and these aliens aren't gonna. They're doing like, if you look at Star Trek, the scenario in Star Trek where the Vulcans were keeping the humans down because they didn't want them out there in space. I think that's what these aliens are all doing, is They like us. They like us like we're little kids, and we're fun to make money off of because that's what they're doing because we're buying all their technology and trading for their technology. So they want that.
And we got the cool vehicle now.
Slow.
Yeah. And we got the cool vehicle now and craft or whatever you want to call it. And we want to get out there, but they're not going to let us through. So yeah, it makes total sense to me. Yeah.
Well, because then the next trip is if you understand that once you go through a wormhole and you can go from one part of our galaxy to another in a blink of an eye, then there's the bubbles that are the different realities that that supposedly the grays aren't from this reality. The grays are supposed to be from a different reality, and they came through into this reality, and they can go back and forth between this reality and the other reality that they're from. So that's the whole multiverse ideology, which that's part of the theory that's out there as well. So if we get the wormhole down, then what are we going to do? I mean, we're humans. We're like a cancer. We're just going to go out there and explore. So we're going to get into trouble.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we're going to get into trouble because we're going to start doing that, right? We want to know. I want to know if I can hop on one of those planes. They said, okay, let's vet you in. We really do have one, and we're about to go through the first wormhole. I'm in.
Oh yeah, me too.
Right. I'm in. Sign this paper that says you'll never speak about it ever again. I'm in.
Exactly. No, without a doubt. I mean, I'm going. Yeah. But
should they go pack now, right? So how much should they bring? I'm in.
but maybe that's why they're not either letting us through or giving us the the technology to where we can jump through a wormhole and get to another. I mean, because look at us as a human race. I mean,
absolutely. We're children. We can't even. We're fighting wars over the same God.
Evil.
We're fighting over a different way of approaching that God's ideology. We believe it's the same God. We're just now fighting over who he spoke to on the phone.
Right. So I would be looking and going, you know what, you guys aren't ready, even though you guys might have the... And technically, maybe they're allowing parts of the government and... countries and people higher up, whatever you want to, call them. I mean, people have called them many things.
Like Stargate. Maybe there is a group of people that are going through and that are doing that. Yeah, I don't see why not. Why wouldn't we? Right?
Exactly, and only that top tier can get through. And I can, in a way, I can understand that. But you get people like me who I'm not evil,
Getting back to that, like you were saying with the top tier, the guy from that group I was talking about. We're drawing a blank on the Disclosure Project. The guy that's in charge of the Disclosure Project, he's been vetted in. I just posted this about a month ago on my group. It was a 3-hour talking where he was telling everybody all the stuff. And he actually said then that he's been vetted in with the government now for like 20 years. And he knows for a fact that there's aliens that are here. And he knew that for a fact when Bill Clinton came into office. He talks about that and how Bill and Hillary wanted to know if there was aliens, and they were told, no, there's not. And they knew that they were being lied to, but they couldn't prove it. And he says, here's the deal. He says, I wanted to believe that our government was our government that was in charge. He says the whole thing's a farce. It's a lie. He says everybody, all the government that's there that runs our government, the guys who sit up there and the president and all the people in the House and the Senate, all they take care of is the menial tasks day to day and the budgets and stuff, but they don't take care of anything that's actually pertinent to the world
right.
or to the planet. He says there's another government that is not elected, that is permanent, that is a group of people that are running this country, running this world. They own the world, they own the planet, they run it, and they don't. These people that are in charge of these governments don't even know that they exist, and those people never get to talk to the other people, and that group actually runs the world, dealing with outside stuff like that, aliens, alien intervention, talking to them, meeting with them, setting up times, and so it's fractured. So the problem is that you don't know who is high up ranked, because there could be a guy who's a corporal in the Army and another guy who's a lieutenant in the Air Force, but they're actually part of the shadow government, and they actually outrank the President of the United States, only he doesn't even know it.
Oh, exactly. I believe that's totally happening. I mean, like I said, everything. I mean, our technology should be in certain aspects when it comes to off this planet should be way more than it is. I mean,
absolutely.
Our cell phones every year are just becoming, the most amazing pieces of equipment ever, and yet something along the way when it comes to sci-fi, science, aliens, UFOs, and stuff like that, just stopped and just is not progressing. I mean, even the stealth bomber. I mean, what was the last government plane, technically, 25 years ago that they were talking about, the stealth bomber and stuff like that? I mean, they really haven't come out and said anything since then. Are you telling me in 25 years we have not advanced and got
at all?
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
Come on. Look at the advancements that we made just during the First World War and just during the Second World War, and think about all the tanks and all these things, all these advances we made in aircraft during the time of war. You're going to tell me that everybody on the whole planet just kind of stopped trying to make new shit, to pardon my language, make new stuff to go after people, and all of a sudden there's no more technology. The planes and the fighters are all the same. I live out here in the desert, and we have military bases all over this entire state out here, and stationed over here. There's a little teeny Air Force base. It used to be a complete military base, and now it's half and half. But we have like 10 fighter planes that are there. We have in the state we have 78 fighter planes stationed in the state of Arizona. 78. There's 15 million people that live in the state of Arizona when the snowbirds are here, when it's summertime. Yeah, and we have 78 of the toppest, best aircraft known to mankind stationed out here, because we're out in the middle of nowhere and they can test fly them. We've already lost 2 in the last 2 years, and we were training pilots from foreign countries how to fly them, and they crash them out here in the desert. And these things cost like $1 billion or $100 billion a piece to make. Well, what exactly are these things do that's different from the ones that, the F-18? What exactly is it? A better computer? What is it that these things do?
Oh yeah,
that makes them so cool, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't get the technology, man. It should be a lot farther along, like you're saying. We should have these big advances, and we don't have it.
And like you said, I mean, it could be like the black triangles, the ones that go like very, very slowly, defying gravity. Pretty much. I mean, those could be.
You with no sound either. With no sound.
Exactly.
There's never any sound. Yeah. I think that's a very. I thought about that theory, and we talked about it in my group, and we believe that they're using anti-gravitational devices of some sort, and we're trying to figure out what they would use, whether it be magnetics or electronic waves or electronic magnetic waveform. We're trying to figure that out, and we actually went pretty far with that one Friday night, where we were on for about 4 hours talking about and going back and forth about all this technology, and we had some pretty good brains on there, and we definitely believe that they're using they have to be using anti-gravitational devices. And it's not real hard to come up with the idea. It's the practicality of actually making an anti-gravitational device. And first they were talking about mercury, because the Germans were playing with it, and they keep finding mercury in weird places like in China, and in these burial mounds from these supposed kings who were possibly aliens. And then what's the deal with mercury, and how's that tie in? And the Foo Fighters of the Second World War being either plasma or mercury balls. So, and then the bell, the bell that they supposedly have, the Germans supposedly had, that could time travel, and all of that was based with mercury. And so there was a lot of fight for that, but I don't think that's it. It might be part of it, but I think a lot of it is just magnetic waveforms. And if you get that stuff working right, you can pretty much go anywhere you want to go and do it pretty quickly. But I don't know. If I knew all that, I'd be vetted in, and I wouldn't be talking about this because I'd be up there doing it, right?
Yeah. What do you think of the Germans and the UFOs? You believe they had that technology and actually had a UFO back in World War II?
Yes, they did. Von Braun was interviewed. This was another video that I had posted in our group. He was interviewed just before they kicked him out of the projects over here, and probably the reason why he got kicked out was because of him coming forward. And the guy actually asked him, in all the stuff that you did and all the technology that you guys came up with, was there ever anything to the whole alien thing about you guys when you were in Germany finding UFOs, and then the Americans doing the same? And he looked at him and he says, well, I'm not really supposed to talk to that, but the only thing I can say is that we had help. And he says, we had help. He says, what do you mean we had help? And he looked over at the file cabinet, and he said, from them, we had help. So he wouldn't actually say it. So technically, he didn't actually come out and say it. So I think he was trying to keep his job at that point, but he wanted to let the people know. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Everything that you think about UFOs, everything you think about us reverse engineering, everything you think about us meeting with them and talking to them was true. I just can't tell you that on camera because I'll lose my job. Well, he lost his job anyway. They kicked him out after that.
Oh, my gosh. And I tell you, that's what irritates me the most is that, we just sit here and we don't know a darn thing, and we have to progress as some of us want to progress a little bit faster than others do, And
well, there's other things. There was a guy back in the 80s. It's really weird. I have a really good memory, so I remember this stuff, and I don't remember his name right now, which is kind of contrary to what I just said. But give me a second, I'll remember his name.
No problem.
Back in the 80s, he claimed that he worked out at Mirror Lake, and he worked for the government out there in Nevada. And he claimed that we had this particle. This is what's really. And they don't even dumb it down. This is what's funny is they just said he was a crazy lunatic. He said I worked for the government, and what happened was he said there's going to be UFOs flying over at a certain time. He took his friends out there and said, now watch, here they come, because they always come at this time,
right.
Because this is when they come down here to meet with us, and it's always at this day at this time. So he's telling his friends that, and they go out and they see that. Well, the government finds out that he's basically broken his contract. They claim he never worked for them. They claim he never worked for them at all, and they have no idea who this man is, and he's just some crazy kook. And he says, I'm telling you, I worked for them, and this is how it worked. I went over, and I got on this plane, and we flew out of this airport, and we went there and landed there, and that's what we did, and sometimes we stayed there for months at a time. The government said, you know what, he's just crazy. He's nuts. He never was here. He's making it all up. And he says, okay.
Sounds like Bob Lazar's story.
He says, if I'm making it all up, let me tell you this. I was working with a particle, and this particle was a brand new particle, and it's called unpentium or unpentium.
Oh, are you talking about Bob Lazar?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
No, not the one that. Yeah, the guy who had the glasses, not the guy who.
Bob Lazar. Yeah.
Bob Lazar.
Area 51. Yeah.
You came up with it for me. So he says we had this particle, and I was working with this particle, and the aliens gave it to us. And it's called unpentium, or
right.
Some people pronounce it unpentium. And we only at the time had unpentium. And there was another particle, and it's on the periodic table of elements, and it's called unpentium. And they said, well, why haven't anybody talked about that? He says, because it's a particle that we got from the aliens, and we're still working on it, so we're not telling anybody we even have it. This is in 1986 when they said he was a crazy maniac.
Oh, yeah.
And that all of that was a lie, and that he was just making it all up. 2014... the scientific community came out and said, ooh, look what we just found. We just discovered this particle called unpentium.
Yes.
Now, it's funny that he created a particle back in 1986 that they said was a complete lie and made up, but yet they named the particle exactly what he said the particle was.
Of course.
They didn't even change. They just assumed that nobody would remember that crazy lunatic. And anything that he said, but he actually said that. So there was a video that we posted that showed that whole thing where somebody put that together and went, look, here he is, unpentium. Look, 2014, unpentium, brand new, just found it.
Yep. No, crazy stuff. Oh, yeah, I've been through Bob Lazar's work for years and years and years. I heard him when he was first on Art Bell, and over all the years.
You're old enough to know him when he was right after that. See, I saw him when he came out on television back then. And I was like, this guy's not crazy. It just sounds crazy, but he's not crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. You know what? We've got so much crazy. I mean, this is what I think holds down. Well, first of all, it helps the government out because, they can just go do their thing because there's so much in the field that just, disinformation gets people saying this is crazy stuff. You got, I don't know how many people making fake UFO videos, fake photographs, fake videos.
Crazy.
And that's part of our technology, the age we're in. And, there's not
apps. There's actually 4 or 5 apps out there that help you.
Yes, and there's not much we can do about that. You have to really dig in and do the research. And even then, you can pretty much lay your cards right on the table and say, hey, this is what we got. This is 100% undeniable. And people will still say, you know what? You're crazy, man.
Right, absolutely. That's people just go, no. And I look at that and I laugh. I go, someday when it all does come out and you're just going to look back and you go, all those crazy guys were right on. They were telling the truth. They wouldn't even care at that point, I guess,
Oh,
but
yeah.
people are starting to learn, and more people are starting to question. And, because the facts are there, man. It's the information is there. You just have to look at it and not ignore it.
Oh, yeah.
They've been ignoring it for so long and controlling the information. It's just like everybody, talking about like Nevada and all that, the whole Area 51. That's where everything's going on. Nothing's going on out in Area 51 right now. Some of the underground bases, yeah, but nothing that is going on out there. They are trying to hide from us because, and I'm not a genius, and I'm not the government, I would be perfectly well and good with letting you think and continuing to let you think that stuff's going on there when I move the whole operation to, say, I don't know, one of the other military bases that is somewhere, the one of them was Wright-Patterson. Moved all the stuff to Wright-Patterson, but I'm going to let you guys hang around over here in the Nevada desert and look for UFOs forever. And you keep on doing that, and I'll keep poking my head up and showing you the boogeyman every now and then so that you guys believe that something's going on over here, when in truth, the real stuff's going on in a different state.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I was going to just touch on, going back to your book and your story and stuff like that too, on UFO and evidence in the past. We've got some great evidence. I mean, you've got them in paintings. Like, of course, the cave paintings, but actual paintings from, very Leonardo da Vinci.
Da Vinci, right? Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, it's like, what do you think of all of that? I mean,
Well, see, I hit you with that in the book. I show you that. I give you the evidence, and the one brother's talking to the other brother, and he's telling him this, and he goes on the internet and he pulls up pictures, and so the pictures that he's telling you about are in the book. So when you're reading that, in the center of the book, I have like 15 pictures, and they're cave paintings. The ones in Australia, there's 4 or 5 of those from Australia. They're from all over the world, different pictures that are showing you how these countries who were separated by 5,000 miles, 3,000 miles, and there's no way these people ever supposedly had any kind of contact with one another,
right.
Yet they're drawing and painting the exact same person.
Oh, yeah.
They're sculpting the exact
or vehicles.
same,
yep.
carving the exact same person. But there's no way these people, they were cave dwellers. They were running around just barely above apes, clubbing people with the bone of the dead guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're in their cave drawing on the wall the exact same guy that the Aborigines did down under, that the guys in China did, that the guys in Egypt did, that the guys over here in the over in the Aztecs and the Mayans that they
South
did.
America. I was going to say pyramid. Yep.
Right. How is that possible? First of all, the academic world ignored that. Literally, it didn't fit in with their ideology of what was happening. And one of the things that always drove me insane was that they would go somewhere and there would be ruins and there would be an arena of some type. And they would always say, this is where they all came to worship their God.
Right.
And they always had this big, and I said, really? Because, we got those all over the country, and we don't go there to worship a God. We go there to watch games being played.
Right.
We go there to watch football.
Well, where do we go now, though? We go to churches,
right.
So...
we go to churches. We don't have a big, giant stadium
right.
where everybody gets together, right?
Exactly.
And so if the humans have been doing that, now think about the Roman Colosseum.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't know, because there was history that told us that the Roman Colosseum was games, what would we think? Well, we would think the same thing they thought about everybody else. This must have been where they went to worship their God, because it looks just like all the other places where we've said that must be where they worship their gods.
Yeah.
So this big arena was their big god that they worshiped. No, they went there because they were watching games, man. There was entertainment. They didn't have a movie theater, so they went there.
Exactly. So, yeah.
So I just, that always bothered me growing up, that what if that was not that? And then they would show cave drawings, and some of them I'd look at and go, that looked like, my baby brother when he was drawing on the walls with crayons. Maybe that was just some kid. But then when you see pictures of these, where they're literally trying to describe something, and you can tell that somebody's trying to describe something, and it was important enough for them to write it down, and the academics just blow by it and go, that was just nothing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just undeniable facts when it comes to, I mean, there's pictures and paintings that just show an actual vehicle or aliens in spacesuits. I mean, that's not just a child jotting something down. That's actual, let's put this down.
Somebody saw something and they were trying to write what they saw. Absolutely. I have pictures of that too.
Yeah.
Like the ones out here that the Anasazi and the Hopi here, they're just about 200 miles, 300 miles north from where I live, where their land is and where they have the stuff that took place and their legends of the ant people. I have a couple of the drawings of the ant people in my book to show you that where the Indians, the Native American Indians come into play with their stories. You go talk to them and they'll tell you just straightforward, yes, aliens were here. They're here. They fly over here all the time out in the desert. And that's just a little ways above where I'm at right now. That's at the Four Corners, which is, Arizona and Arizona and Nevada and Idaho and I think Colorado or one of those, New Mexico. Right. All four of those states touch at one spot. Where the Hopi and the Anasazi live is right there in that area, within 50 miles of that area, and that's about 200 miles from where I am right now. Yeah. So it's good UFO country out here.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got the skies there, man. And I might be dumb. The ant people? Am I misinterpreting? Who are they?
You haven't heard that story? That was a Hopi. That's a Hopi legend. They tell that back more than 10,000 years ago. They claim that these ant people, when they draw them, and when you look at the way they're drawing, they look like the Greys, but they seem to have maybe an elongated ear or maybe an antenna, like where they're wearing a helmet or something, had an antenna that came off of it. Okay. That they actually came to the people and said, you're in danger, you need to come and live in these caves. And the caves are there, they found them. The caves are there, you can go take a tour of them, the caves. 30,000 people could live in this one cave that's 3 stories tall. And the entire cave infrastructure was set up to where one person, you could go to one place in the center of this entire structure and just talk with your normal voice, and everyone in the entire compound could hear you. The acoustics were set up so that one person could stop in one place and say and talk to everybody just by speaking normally, and everyone in the whole place could hear them clearly. Wow. So they lived there for 10,000 years.
Where's this at?
And this is here in Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. In the area where the Anasazi, the Anasazi and the Hopi Indians. The Hopi Indian land is really big, and that's right next to the Apache, north of the Apache land, which is what I'm living on. The Apache land was huge. Most of Arizona, all of the east of Arizona and the west of New Mexico, and some of old Mexico, Mexico.
Do you remember the name of the site? Indians. You remember the name of the site?
I can't think of it offhand, but you can actually go there and tour. And I'm gonna have to, if I remember it, I'll give it to you in your group. You can post it for everybody.
Okay, cool.
And maybe some of the guys that are listening, some of my guys, I'm hoping are still on there. Some of my admins we're going to tune in. So if you guys know what it is and you remember what it is, shoot it to his site or text it and put it on our site where that site is. But you can go there and you can look and I think Giorgio Tsoukalos went there, and he went in there and went and was standing in that spot. So they said that they were taken underground, and they came out after the 10,000 years, and at that time period coincides with the last ice age, and the ice was freezing over this whole area. So apparently they were taken underground, and they lived underground and had food, water, everything underground for 10,000 years. And when the ice melted, they said, okay, you can come back out to the land. And that's what the Hopi Indians believe. And they showed people, look, here's the caves. And they've gone into the caves and went, wow. And they said, there's more bigger than this. And some of them we just don't remember where they are anymore, but there's one here. And you can actually go in there and tour it. It's crazy.
Oh, I can.
And
just...
it's somewhere in this area of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico, right in that area where the Hopi Indians are up there at Four Corners, and then the Anasazi has just got this little teeny bit of land in the center of it.
Oh, I'll track the information down, or I'll check your site out, because I definitely want to look into that more. I mean, that's just an amazing story to be able to, that vast of a cave system, and to go in one spot and be able to hit everybody through the acoustics of the cave. It's just amazing. And again, I mean, I think, the amount of cave systems in this world that are probably hidden and everywhere, that a civilization over the years, even though we've found a lot of it, it's probably hidden. There's probably
There's a lot more. There was a program that was on the History Channel. I don't know. I'm plugging the History Channel, but I don't work for them. Just so you know. But there's very interesting things.
Good programs on there. Yeah.
There was one program that was on there that was actually called Cities of the Underworld, and they're like on season 3, and that's all this guy does is go around the world and he finds out when people say, yeah, there's a whole city underneath the city, or there's a whole cave system underneath the city, and we have the entrance, and people don't even know that it exists. And these people that own the cities actually have people that go down there and they take care of the place to keep it from collapsing because it's holding the city up. So they're actually down in there. The whole place is lit up. And so they take him in there and they tour all of these cave places, like underneath London. There's an entire cave city under there. And Edinburgh, Scotland, there's a whole city underneath the city where people were living in apartments and everything. They just buried the whole thing in, and the people were still living in it. Insane things like that. Amazing.
I mean, it's just crazy.
And those are the ones we know about. Now, the ones
exactly.
we don't know about.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Just like the pyramids. I mean, pyramids are in every country on the planet. I mean, it's everywhere. Most of them probably.
Yeah, they're finding them everywhere. Look at the ones in China now that the Chinese buried. Once we said, "Aha, we see pyramids," they buried them all over.
And what are your thoughts on what they were used for? You have any ideas on that? I mean, I
don't believe that they were burial sites. I'm of the subscription that, like, the pyramid at Giza was basically a gas station. I believe that they if you look in there, one of the theories is that they put chemicals in there, and that the actual water that's underneath the foundation would lap up against the bottom of it, and it created a vibration through the entire structure, and that vibration actually transmuted these gases into energy, and it was like a microwave conductor. And I believe that the pyramids and the obelisks were there for Tesla's theory. I'm going to plug Tesla, because Tesla's theory of underground and free electricity. I believe that our planet at some point, when these aliens were here, was being charged, and they were using the natural ley lines of our planet, which does already have the energy that flows through it.
Yep.
And they were amplifying that, and they were just running everything they had. Like, now we're starting to get that technology and that ideology with charging our cell phones without having to dock anywhere. You just go and set it on top of the plate, or wave it plate, and we're charging it. Same thing. That was Tesla's idea. Tesla came up with that and showed where you could just take something and stick it into the ground, and he had already charged the field under the ground, which we actually use to this day, but people don't know that. And I know that because I was gas certified, underground certified in the state of California, where you actually electrify your gas lines underground so they don't corrode. And so you actually set up a whole bed of electricity that runs only through those. The electrodes run through the gas lines, and it charges the gas lines slightly with electricity. Yeah, and it won't. What happens is it won't rust over time because all the molecules are lined up so that no oxygenation gets into your gas lines. That's a standard operating procedure throughout the entire state of California. I don't know anywhere else because that was the only place that I was actually certified and working on it. We actually had to repair one in a mobile home park where a contractor had disrupted it, and so we actually went and created a whole new bed with electricity, and I actually would go and monitor it. And there's people that's what their job is, to go and monitor that every few months to check the electricity and make sure that it's working. And then once every few years, the state of California would come in and go to different places, different points, and make sure that they could test the electricity and that it was still working properly. So we were actually using that on a very small scale, and we do on a very small scale now, and people just don't know about it. If you tune that up higher, you can get electricity for free right out of the ground because we just charge the ground with electricity, which was Tesla's idea and his whole theory.
Yeah, wow! That's the first I ever heard of that. I had no idea that they were doing that. I mean, I knew the Tesla theory and all of that, but I didn't know they were actually, using that, through the gas lines and the water, stuff like that. I mean, they could use that for, a multitude of different.
Absolutely, but there's not as much money in it. So you have to remember that everything goes back to money, right?
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, look at what happened to Tesla. Because you had the other guys that were fighting for for, he had direct current and they had alternating current. And, it's the same fight that happened back when people are too young to know this, but between the VHS tapes and the Beta. Beta was actually a better quality tape than VHS, but they went and bought up everything. Same thing happened with Apple and your PCs.
Right.
They went to everybody and said, all the new computers that you make will have our product on it, and they got them to sign a contract. So Apple had to make their own computers with their own stuff because they have these contracts that went to the end of time with all these companies that were making the computers, and so Apple looked like they didn't know what they were doing, and they actually stole Apple's whole program and just reverse engineered it and called it Windows 95.
Oh man, the history behind all this stuff, it's just crazy.
Right. So it's all about greed. So the whole idea that Tesla had, it's just like solar. They don't want anybody to go solar.
Oh yeah, God forbid we
can't regulate that and make people pay a certain amount of money for it. See?
Yeah, we don't want nothing for free, do we? No.
No, you can't do that. It's like there's no cure. The last time the American government cured a disease was when they cured polio, and that was 1948, 53, somewhere around there.
Let's make everybody
cured.
Let's make everybody pay for everything, and let's not cure anything. Otherwise,
no, we'll just give you a pill that you can take at $85 a month for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
it'll keep you from dying from it. Yeah, there's no cure in it. Pharmaceutical companies would go out of business if they cured everything.
Oh, let me ask you another question about the book, the what you said in there about Socrates and drinking the poison.
Yeah. I tell you that in the book, and that's the actual fact. You can look it up. Socrates, at the time when he died, he said the world was round, that it wasn't flat. They believed that was heresy. That was an affront to God.
Yep.
That he would even be bold enough to think that the world was round, and they made him drink poison and die, made him kill himself in open court because of his ideology from him speaking out. So talking about UFOs was almost the same way. It would have been back then, right? And it's almost the same way up until, the modern day in the 60s and 70s, but they still think they ridicule you and think that you're crazy. So people don't understand, and that's why one of the reasons why I put that on the book, and in the book, that people don't understand just how far people go in this world to keep ideology and free thinking down. There's a theory that the witch hunts in Salem, that the book that was put out was not actually to go after witches. They just called it that so that they could openly kill women that were free thinkers. And so any woman who would stand up to her husband or had any kind of thinking that wasn't, I'm supposed to just make babies and cook, they would say is a witch, and then they would kill her off. And that's the theory. I don't know because I wasn't there, but that is a working theory that people tend to believe. So people will go out of their way and kill you to keep a secret, even in this modern day. That's why the conspiracy theories, they always make it like in the movie 2012, where Woody Harrelson's character was just like, and all these guys died, look, and he was just out of control, and everything about him said, I'm crazy, right? Even though at the end they were like, wow, wait a minute, he was right. But see, that's the way everybody looks at his character in that movie, is the way everybody tries to look at people who believe in UFOs, that you're that guy. You're nuts. You have to be because you believe in UFOs. Well, this is what I say to everybody, and I'll say it, and I've said it a bazillion times. Okay, when was the last time someone saw your God? And people say, well, you got to take it on faith. Okay, well, nobody saw your God yesterday, right? Okay, well, I know for a fact, because you can look this up, 50,000 people witnessed a UFO yesterday. That's the average. Every single day on the face of this earth, at least 50,000 people report seeing a UFO. So I'm not trying to say that UFO is bigger than God. I'm just saying that if you can believe in a God that you have never seen and no one has spoken to for 3,500 years, how can you deny the fact that 50,000 people a day witness someone flying in here to this planet from a different planet?
No.
What's the logic? What's the logic in that? How can you say that?
No,
that's like
the odds
literally
are
me saying the sky is blue and you not looking up and saying, nope, it's brown.
No, that's true. I mean, it's out there. I mean, people see, every single day. I mean, same with lots of other paranormal stuff. But have you ever seen a UFO yourself?
Yes, that's what got me started on the entire thing when I was a little boy. I tell this in the book. When I was a little boy, my father, who believed in UFOs, he was back in that day. We had the citizen band radio. The CB radios were real big in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
And so everybody would. That's like now it's a chat room basically, but then it was on radios.
Yeah.
And everybody would sit around and talk. Well, where I lived in a little teeny city called Concord, California. And if you're from Concord, California, you say Concord, not Concord, but it's pronounced Concord. But if you're from Concord, shout out to those of you who are listening from Concord. I lived in Concord, California. It butted up against the Concord Naval Weapons Station, and that Naval Weapons Station is unheard of and unknown, but it was the largest naval weapons station on the west coast of the United States for 100 years. Wow. No one even knew about it, and it was tucked into this little up north. You go into the San Francisco Bay, and you go north up the Sacramento River, about 15 to 20 miles, and there was the military base. The city grew up around the military base, and that's where I grew up. The military base closed back when Bill Clinton closed it back in the 90s, so it was open until then, operating. Most of my friends and family worked either for the military or on that base. And when I was a kid, all of a sudden they were talking about on the radio, there's this something hovering over the military base. So we were literally, where I lived was only about 4 miles, not even that, 3 miles from the base through town. So my dad ran outside and looked up, and there it was, ran back inside and said, everybody quick, come out. You have to see this. And I went outside, and we stood there, and we watched a UFO floating over the military base, and it floated east. And it just skirted the entire military base all the way to the mountain range and then went over the mountain range. And I found out later that people who lived in the next town over on that same day saw that same aircraft flying by, just cruising along up the interstate and just took off. Wow. Everybody in that whole county saw that UFO for more than 2 hours, tracked it. But they don't exist. So from that day on,
what did that look like?
I believed it. I believed that was something that was not from here at all. It was around, it was not the exact saucer, type of aircraft, but it was more of it was shaped like that, but a little bit more bulbous. And it tumbled and rolled. It didn't just fly straight. It tumbled and rolled and just sort of leisurely, almost like a balloon would do, but it wasn't. You could tell that it was metal. It was metallic and it was silver. And then when it decided to move, it would just move and it would just glide. There was no sound whatsoever, and it just moved in any direction that it wanted to move in.
So it was more round than disc shape, or?
Yeah, it was a little more. It was like a disc shape, only if you maybe made it a little bit more puffy on the top and bottom. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it wasn't your standard saucer that you see. It was a little bit bigger, but it looked just like that. Looked just like that, and it just did whatever it wanted, and it just floated along. And from that day on, I knew that was something. And I didn't know what it was then because I was a little boy, but everybody talked about it, and it was a UFO. It was a UFO, and what is a UFO? And then I find out what a UFO means. And so from that point on, I've seen one. I've never seen one since in real life, but I've seen things that I've wondered about. I've seen hundreds of thousands of videos and photos throughout the years, and having that Facebook, page for as long as I have. There was a time where it was just hard drilling, hard working, looking through photos, and people were popping stuff up left and right. And there was a group of us that just researched that stuff and then would debunk what we could. And some of the things we came up with, we just said, I don't know, man. Add it to the photo list. That looks good. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So we, I would say that it is what it is. Like, it is 10% of everything you see you can't explain. The 90% you can explain away, but there is that 10% that you just look at and you go, I don't know. That it's just got to be. Everyone always says, well, how come alien spaceships are always, they're always distorted and out of frame? Well, most of the time it's because the person's trying to zoom in and their camera doesn't zoom in properly. And a lot of times when you see it, they've already, people like me have looked at it and zoomed in on a computer. And so you're losing the pixelation of it, and so it looks fuzzy because scientists have zoomed in 100 times and it's now you're looking at pixels. So a lot of the times that's what's happening. So if you look at NASA, they do the same thing. It's just that us nerds get used to looking at objects in that pixelation form. Yeah. So we can tell you what something is, and people will go, how do you see that right there? Because we're so used to looking at that, that
Well, if we accidentally see a NASA UFO photo or something that has been, blacked out or blackened out or something, I mean,
Right.
I'd look at that as being, some pretty good evidence. But when it comes to just, pictures, even if they're the older ones, I mean, the older pictures I would give more credence to. But nowadays,
before the technology was there,
but even now, if you get something that people are like, wow, this is just 100%, this looks great, you still have to go into the story, like who took it, where was it taken, did anybody else see it?
First thing I do on the computer is look at the programming. I look at the photo and I try to pull up the history of the photo programming and where it came from to see who touched it and who played with it. And I worked for art companies for a while doing framing, managing framing companies, and for like 5 or 6 years or so of my retail career. And one of the things that we had to do was learn how to look at images and break down what was real and what was fake, because people would hoax things. They'd come in with a fake photo and turn it in, and when they came to pick it up, they would say, "Who stole my original? This is fake." And they would try to sue the company for millions of dollars.
Oh, no way.
So we had to authenticate photos a lot. We had to authenticate a lot of stuff. So it was funny that I was doing that for a living and ended up doing it in the UFO industry because I kind of had to, just by having that group on there. So I can take a photo and take a look at it. It doesn't take long for me to tell you whether it's fake or not. There was a video that came out that was in Mexico. It was raw. I looked at it and went, wow, that's rocket. That's a great video of this alien spaceship flying around. A couple of them, and they look just military. They just look tough, and they were flying along. And me and a couple other guys. There was a guy on one of the shows who caught it as well. I looked at it and I said, well, I'm seeing a couple problems here that most people wouldn't look for, but because I have a art background and we're supposed to do this, I'm seeing 3 palm trees that are the exact same palm tree.
Yeah.
And, right? That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in nature. There's not there. You can take a bud from a flower. You can take a snowflake, and none of them are the exact same shape. So palm trees are the same way. They don't grow the same. None of them. So the palm trees were added in. So if the palm trees were added in, this is already fake. Because if they're added in, then what else is added in? And then they forgot to pixelate the UFO when it flew behind this palm tree. So when it flew behind the palm tree, when you looked through the palm tree, it only happened in one frame. There was only one frame, and they missed it when they were trying to fix it. When you floated down and you froze it in this one frame, you could see that there was just clear sky, and there was supposed to be the UFO right there, and then it was just all of a sudden there. So but it's stuff like that, and then it's hard to convince some people when they want to believe so bad that it's real. And you say, no, this is fake. Let me show you why. This is where, if you look at this, you can see where they blended the color here. This is where they put this image over this other image, and they tried to blend it right here so that you wouldn't see that this doesn't match perfectly. And that was part of my job to look for that. So I look for that automatically. It's the first thing I look for is it an image that's been doctored with another image attached to it, or is something erased? I can almost always, when you look at a photo of a woman, I can almost always go, she had some blemish right there, and they erased that.
Well, yeah, I'd say that's pretty standard in the business now. So
so they do it there. Why, so the UFO guys, the ones that are trying to hoax stuff, they do it too. And there's some stuff that I tell the guys, if I see that thing posted another time, I'm going to have a stroke. Please don't let anybody post that.
Yeah.
We debunked that 8 years ago.
That's what
new people come in.
Yeah, that's
and they're just discovering stuff for the first time.
Right.
And they want to believe so bad that they post a video that we've already debunked 10 years ago.
No, I hear you. I deal with the same stuff where it's every now and then you'll get like an older, picture or story come up and it's been debunked or it's been shown to be fake, and people are just like, wow, holy Moses, and and that's where you get to these there's some YouTube channels out there, man, that are devoted to, they're putting up daily videos, but they're all produced, and it is. We
have a list.
I won't throw a name out there, but you look at it and you go, oh my God, but they've got huge numbers. And the comments on
people just want to believe it. They just want to believe it. So they just love that stuff. That's just like the tabloids, like the National Enquirer.
Exactly.
They make stuff up, but they sell.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a list that we published. In fact, it was floating on my site today. We try to bump it and keep it up, especially on the weekends. And there's like, I haven't counted, but it's got to be close to 100 sites now that we will not allow to be posted on our group because they're fake. They're made up. They're tabloid. And so people will post it and we'll tell them, sorry, we can't post that. So now we screen everything. The administrators, I have 20 of them that work for me right now, will work with me because they're not getting paid by me. Someday, hopefully, when I get the website up, we'll be able to get paid instead of Zuckerberg. But these guys are good, and we look at everything, and we, if someone doesn't know, they ask another one, what do you think of this? No, don't post that. And then, so we'll tell people if your thing doesn't get posted, it was because we debunked it. We don't have time to tell every single person why we debunked their stuff. So if it doesn't get posted, it's because it was fake in some way, and just know that. If you ask us, we'll tell you, but we don't have the time. We have hundreds of items being posted an hour that we have to look through and then post. They're the ones that we like. We love the jokes. We always do the jokes. Cartoons are fun. So we throw those out there.
It's hard.
Anything with Giorgio Tsoukalos' crazy hair, we're going to post it.
Yes. No, it's hard sometimes when you have to delete somebody's post and to actually explain to every person, why you're deleting a picture or a post or something like that is hard to do. So, I mean, especially with you, you got 33,000 in the group. It's like, you're just going to delete some stuff. I mean, and, that is up there, that's fake. And, I tell you, there's okay, forget it. I wasn't going to throw any names out there on YouTube channels, so I won't do that. But anyway,
we almost never post anything from YouTube. Almost never.
Right,
You'll find a few. That's because they might be entertaining in some way, or there was a good discussion.
There you go.
But truthfully, if there's a video that comes from YouTube, it just doesn't really make it to our program.
And the sad thing is, there might be some actual genuine, videos up there, but you just
that's where if it's iffy and we think that it's worthy of people looking at just to talk about, we'll go ahead and post it and see what the people think, because there's a lot of guys that are in our group, and I give shout outs to these guys because they're not administrators, but these guys are just full on brainiacs, and they work with us, and they're always debunking, and they're always looking at stuff, and we get into long discussions about different things, and sometimes we will all agree, I don't know what that is, but I can't say it's not, So we've done that, and sometimes you'll get people. I love it when somebody posts there was a car commercial that had the guys in the car jumping out and filming an alien spaceship. People chopped that and just showed the alien spaceship and the guys in the car, but didn't show the rest of the car commercial.
No.
And everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's real!" And one of my administrators went, "No, look, here's the commercial. It's a German car commercial.
It's too easy to edit videos nowadays. I mean, it takes 5 seconds, to do. So.
Yep.
Hey, what are your thoughts on Roswell? I was talking to somebody. I interviewed somebody last week, I think, and he was going over about the two UFOs that were there were two different crash sites, and technically, one was, the government flying a craft, and the other aliens, and technically crashed into each other and ended up. You have any thoughts on that? You guys get in depth on that subject in the group?
I've heard that. I've heard that theory, but the theory that I heard that is also there's a few out there that are floating. Mm-hmm. If you look at there's certain areas here of our planet where the zones, say like the Bermuda Triangle, if you go to the other side of the planet, almost literally directly to the other side of the planet, that becomes the Japanese Triangle.
Right.
That's over in Japan. Okay. Both of those are on the exact same parallel line. That exact parallel line runs directly through Roswell, New Mexico, all the way around the world. And if you look at that parallel line and you draw that parallel line all the way across the planet, you're going to find some very interesting things that are and have happened. And now, the theory that I heard was that our government had gotten the idea that these aliens were coming in and coming through, and they attracted to that particular line. And that they actually used some sort of either sound weapon or a particle weapon of some sort, and they actually were shooting them down on purpose to get their technology and reverse engineer it. And that's how it started. And so Roswell may have been us trying to fly some craft that we had already gotten at an earlier date, that we had reverse engineered to try and maybe chase them or catch them, because we didn't have anything else that could catch them or keep up with them at the time. And who knows? They may have crashed into them on purpose to down the craft so that we could get some more technology. And then eventually they came and met with the people, that were running the whole show, and us, shooting them down stopped. And then we started, I have a theory about that as well. We started trading other things for the technology. I think first our gold went, and I don't think we have any more gold in Fort Knox.
Really?
And that's one of the reasons why we got off of the gold standard, was because we gave them what we had, and then we don't have any more there. We're just now still mining it to get it out. That's my personal theory, and the reason and what's happening from then. And this I'm going to talk about in my future book, the one that I'm writing now for next year, and the one after that. That this is a statistic that you can look up on our planet, and it also ties in with the Mayans and the Aztecs and the things that have happened all across this planet at different times. That every single year on this planet, just say in the United States, we have 380 million people that live here. 50,000 people disappear, and they're never, ever found.
Right.
In the United States every single year. Now, if that happens just in the United States, let's just say that every country donates 50,000 people. How many people is that per year for the entire planet? Right? Or say it's per capita. So when you have a population of 380 million, there's 50,000. So if you extrapolate that up and down, what is the amount? You can look at everything you could possibly imagine that could happen to these people, and it still doesn't explain for the amount of people that disappear.
No, it's an unbelievable
number.
number.
They ran away. You could say that they were abducted into slavery. You could say that they whatever. It still doesn't amount up to the amount of people who disappear off the face of this planet every single year. Just gone. Never seen from, never heard from, ever again. Where do these people go? My theory is that the governments of the world are trading humans for technology.
Okay. Huh.
Because if you look at this now let's go back to the Aztecs, right? You go back to the Mayans, we know that just in one city alone, 2 million people up and disappeared in one day. The entire city. They've looked everywhere in the outlining areas to see if the population increased in those areas, because people say, well, they just all moved. There was a drought, so they all just moved to different places. They all just scattered. If that were a case, there would be a scatter pattern of a population growth.
Oh, right,
Even if they walked all the way back to Utah, where they supposedly came from, there would be signs of 2 million people showing up somewhere, even if it was small groups of 10, going to 2 million different compounds.
Was it really was it 2 million people?
Yeah,
trying to remember the number.
In that culture that just disappeared.
Wow. Yeah, no.
That's a lot.
Yeah. This is a whole civilization. I mean,
right. That's akin to the Christian rapture. God decided they were the chosen ones and took them home with him in his spaceship.
Yeah, there you go. Very interesting. Yeah, no, that actually is a very intriguing story by itself. I mean, one that
one's the scary one, right? That one's the scary one because I believe in I've done studies on abductions, and I believe that that's happening, and I believe it's happening on a larger scale that people are aware of.
But some say it's possibly the government doing it though, and not aliens.
I think it's a little bit of both. The theory wasn't there until not too long ago. But see, the problem that I have, the problem that I have is that guys were talking about technology that we didn't have yet, and then here we are talking about the government hiding technology from us for 50 years. So it is very possible. Either way, somehow, in a very, 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 very short period of time, the human race's DNA has upgraded 7%. In the entire time from when we can trace our DNA back to the beginning of time, from that point until about 1,500 years ago, say 2,000 years ago, our DNA changed to only 1% from that time period until now.
And that's actually big.
2,000 years, we've changed 7% increase.
Well, that's actually a big increase when you come down to it with DNA. So, yeah, I mean, it's...
They say that the average IQ
Mm-hmm.
of the average human has gone up 30 points in the last 150 years.
Well, I think some of it's went down in some of the people, but yeah, I get you. No,
right. We're supposed to go up, right? You're supposed to breed up.
Sorry, I'm trying to stay positive on this.
Right.
On the human race, but it's hard to do in the world we live in. But
well, no, I think it's a good thing. I think we're honestly overall, if you look at it, I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
Being part of an upgrade is kind of cool. I would love to have my DNA upgrade another 7% while I'm still alive and get another 30 points on my IQ before I'm 90.
Would be nice.
Right, I'm okay with that. Right, because by that time when they do that, there won't be any more death because if we're already pushing above 200 with some of these people with their IQs 230, 240, 250, we're going to push into the 400 range pretty soon. And once they do that, they're going to figure out how to transfer your entire soul or whatever we have into, I don't know, maybe a robot or something, and we'll become a cyborg race. Hey, I'm all right with that. If I don't ever live forever, it's like being a vampire. You live forever, but you don't have a human body anymore. Or the way they're going, they're just going to print one out for you on the printer.
Oh.
This is your body. We just cloned it on my printer.
Yeah, no. I mean, I would actually. Well, I mean, I'm a science fiction, junkie, so I do love that too. And man, just to even think that you could possibly put your essence into a cyborg or an AI.
Well, there's a theory out there that the gray aliens are actually that.
Right.
The gray aliens are just their bodies are like stored in a drawer in a bag, and whenever you're getting ready, your bodies are getting ready to fail, and then you just pop into your whole soul and everything. You pop into a new one, and just boop, there we are, a new body.
Wow. Yeah.
That was one of the theories that was out. That was a theory that came out early on. That must have been in the 80s or 90s maybe, that there was a theory that somebody had saw those. But it might have been Strieber, and there was some question because he wrote Communion and another one, but there was some question because he was a science fiction writer that he might have been just making it all up. But, I read other books about people that were abducted, and he either did really good research, right, and said all the right things and had all the right hooks, which he could have because he's a writer.
Yeah.
Or that really happened. He never really came out and said whether it was fake or not. And once they started on that he just kind of went away. And
you're talking Whitley Strieber?
Whitley Strieber, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's even come out and said, straight out that he's not, 100% positive on what this could possibly be. He said, he said it could be aliens, which, is what he thinks it is, but, it's everything's so dreamlike and, the memories and, he's really not 100% sure himself. So,
right.
it's
well, and even like you're saying, even if the theory is that it's not aliens and that it's our government doing it, and they're doing it for the right reasons, I think, because if they're doing it and it seems to be working, I'm all right with it. People may get mad at me for thinking that, but if our government is the one that's been upgrading our DNA and we're 7% changed and our IQs have gone up that much, keep it up, pal. Just why don't you come out in the open? Some of us will volunteer for that.
Well, I'll tell you what. Somehow, upgrade everybody though, because I think that is what needs to be done. But I would say that the way they're, the abductions themselves are taking place don't sound too pleasant though. And you would think that they would have the technology to, keep us from the pain and the fear that we have. The people have that are going through this, and that's the part that gets to me a little bit.
It's akin to us going out there and flying in a helicopter and shooting a lion with a tranquilizer dart, and then going over and sticking things through his ears and around his head and off his butt and piercing his ears and he feels all of that, and we don't care. We want to track you. And doing everything, we do it, everything we want to do to him. And then, okay, he's wearing off. Let's wake him up and let him run off. And now he runs off, and he's got an ear tag now that he can't get off. And it just went through. We just pierced his ear. That hurts. The trauma of everything that just happened to him is the same thing. So, if you look at it that way, in that respect, they just disrespect us as much as we disrespect. We own them. We act like we own those animals. that they're that far beneath us to where we don't have to worry about what kind of trauma we're causing them, and that these aliens are doing the same thing to us. They look at us like as if they own us, and we're far enough beneath them to where they don't have to in any way curb the pain or the trauma that happens in our psyche, because they don't care. We're just an animal they're tracking, and they just came down and look, grab that one, let's put a tag on that one.
Yeah, I guess that could be true. I mean, I would look at us as not being. I mean, if they're actually, well, I don't know. I would say that.
Yeah, I don't believe that any of those people are. And this is probably just me being defiant because I'm a human and we're defiant as a race.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that anybody is superior than anyone.
Right.
So if they have a pecking order, it's just a pecking order that makes money. It's just a hierarchy, just like it runs here on this planet. I take that Colonel O'Neill attitude, from Stargate, where he looked at the aliens. Everybody looked at them as like this big bad, scary, big bad wolf. He looked at them no different than the Russians or some thugs on a street corner selling drugs. And he was just like, they're just people. They're just other people than us, and they're just in our way, and they're bullies. And so he would antagonize them, and he was always he never took them as if they were omnipotent in any way or superior to him in any way. Mm-hmm. They were just different. And, he called them snakeheads and all that. And, and in one episode, the guy said, do you have to antagonize them like that? And he was scared to death of them. He says, yeah, that's what I do. So I kind of look at that the same way. They're not superior to us in any way. The only difference that they have on us is that they have a technology that surpassed us that allows them to do things that we don't have the ability to do yet. So I don't see that there's they may look at us like we're a childlike race. You're right. We're a little violent still. We'll get over that eventually.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to.
I hope so.
We've come a lot further. If you look back 400 years ago, 500,000 years ago, we've made leaps and bounds. We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's just going to take us a little bit more time. And I think that if we maybe found our place in the universe, and this is what I believe, and that's why I have the group, and that's why I'm writing the books, and that's why I'm trying to get the information out there. I think that if we were forced to actually take a look at where we really stand in the universe, I think it's going to force us to grow up a little bit. Yeah, if we were to tell the world, okay, look, you're not so superior that you think. Okay, so stop being snobby because you're a teenager, right? Because here's people here's the other races out there who have like 500,000 years on us, or 1,000 years, or 10,000 years on us, and they could come down here and blow us up, and we couldn't even stop them. Anytime they want to kill us off, they can do it. We can't stop them. So maybe you guys should stop worrying about which person God spoke to last.
Yep.
Okay? And maybe we should start thinking about what we're going to do as an entire race, and how much further we could be ahead of where we are right now if we weren't so greedy over money and power, and we were actually just trying to move forward and discover. We would be where they are in less time. It doesn't take long when people put their minds to it. Look what the Japanese did. Look what the Chinese did. Mm-hmm. Once they opened themselves up to the West, they went from being a third world country, from being hundreds of years behind the West and all the people in the West, to competing with them in a very short period of time. So we have that ability among us. All of us do. We have that ability as humans to adapt that way and to move forward. We just need to know where our place is. And if we keep believing that this is it, this is like the Matrix. They're just keeping us exactly where 1965 was. They're just feeding us with stuff to keep us entertained. New televisions, new toys, upgrades on cell phones.
You know what? That's a good point. That's very well said. Yeah, keeping us interested in our little toys, and which I am. I mean, I got to tell you that much.
We all are.
But I tell you,
man.
but I'm pissed though. If there's truly something out there and they're that close to us. Why don't we get something done? Why don't we start evolving? Make yourself known, show your presence, and let's get going with civilization. I mean, if they can, I'm sure we can somehow handle the ones that aren't going to make it. I'm sure there can be a process where we can, they could slowly work with certain people, test them, check them out. If you pass this test, you can be one of the people who board the ship, come to our home planet, and intermingle, or, we'll take you to another planet, and we can start some kind of civilization. I mean, I don't see why we can't make that leap to the next level, and this is where my mind goes. I'm still in the middle of believing and not believing, because I haven't seen or It's all stories to me right now. And I'm not taking nothing away from everybody who's experienced. It's just I'm telling you my place in history right now and on this planet, I need something more, and I think we're ready for something more. And otherwise, I think that you say we're making leaps and bounds. I do believe you to a point. But I still see all this evil, and I want to get away from it. And if there's a higher power or alien race working with the government, and we can do something about it and start advancing ourselves, that's what I wish would happen. But I mean, again, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what I think should happen.
Well, I think at some point it's going to have to, just because you're going to get to a point where people are, because of all.
I'll be an old man
because of everything that we have. Well, yeah, the guys that are trying to hide it are all becoming a little old men. But what's happening is that because we're becoming smarter, because of our technology, because we literally have the world's knowledge in our hand at all times. We're walking around with a smartphone, and you can literally call up any information about anything at an instant. We could never do this before. So we're going to become very, very, very more educated as a population, just because of the toys that we have. And because of that, people are going to start asking more questions, because as soon as you start getting knowledge, you start wanting more. And when you get that more, eventually you start asking questions. And once people start looking around and they start questioning everything, they stop watching their television and watching the shows that are on TV that are designed to keep you from changing and can keep you believing that little world is the world that our world should be, and that and then you just stay there and you just watch Channel 5 all day, because those are all your favorite programs. Those are the older people. Our grandma does that, right?
Right.
Grandma watches one channel. She's picked it out. She likes that channel 275, whichever one it is that she got hooked on.
Yeah. Back
in the 40s when television first came on, that's the programming she watches. And the same thing goes with politics. People, they pick a news channel that they watch, and then they become that.
It's on all day long.
They're either Democrat or a Republican, depending on the news that's being fed to them.
Yeah.
Right. I have a picture of a guy that says, it says, "Welcome to the 10 o'clock news. Now is when we'll tell you what you need to believe in." That's the way it is. So these people, if you watch the channels and you go back and forth, and you start to realize what they're doing, and if you don't, you haven't gotten there yet. Get on a smartphone and start learning some more. Once you start to question, that's when eventually there's going to be more people in this world that is going to want good things to happen and start questioning. And that's going to lead them back to everything, because you're going to question everything. You're going to start to question your politics. You're going to start to question your religion. You're going to start to question all this stuff, because you know that we should have better energy resources than fossil fuels. We don't need that anymore. We can develop other things. You're going to start realizing that there's other alternatives that don't cost a lot of money. You're going to start realizing that if you want to keep Social Security alive, you need to get it out of the hands of the government and make people accountable for it, right? Yeah. Because if people are accountable for it, if I ran that company, I'd be fired and gone to jail for all the embezzlement, right? But you got people in the government that says, we can't allow private people to own the Social Security. Well, yeah, that's because you can't dip into it anymore. You can't just take money out of it whenever you want to. Right. You actually have to have an accountability. You have to have books that show you're making money and where it's going. So that's what we need to do with everything. We need to take it out of the hands of the people who are just trying to make money and keeping us down. Eventually, people are going to start questioning the pharmaceutical companies, and why is it that they don't cure anything.
Oh yeah, and that's all.
Start, what about term limits and politicians? And they're already starting to question these things. And it's not just things like that happened in the 60s, and then things that happened, during the different periods of semi-revolutions, where the 60s was upheaval, the 80s were upheaval, and then it was a little bit of upheaval, and it's every 20 or 30 years. It's continuing. It's not going. There's no cutoff anymore. So people are starting to learn so much that they're going, wait a minute, why does God need a starship? They're starting to say, wait a minute, how come there's no cures? Eventually, what will happen is when they question all those things, they're going to eventually get to the alien question.
Right.
Once they've gone through all the other questions, there's nothing else to question. They're going to have to question something, because that's going to be your need. When you want to question things, you go through everything. Why is this? Why is that? And eventually you're going to go, what about this UFO thing?
Yeah. No, I hope so. My mind's filled with questions. That's all I have to say. And
well, that's the problem. There's more. It literally is like philosophy. there's no way you ever answer anything. Every time you pose a question, you try to answer that, you just end up with 5 or 6 more questions.
Exactly.
And that's the way it is with the entire, until literally, and even then, I'll tell you right now that I've said this about Jesus, and I'll say it about aliens.
Mm-hmm.
If they showed up tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
people would say it was a hoax. If they showed up and floated over every major city on the planet, everyone would say, "Oh, now we're going to die because it's Independence Day and they're going to blow us all up." Even if they weren't, they start throwing rocks and shooting at them. They'd all freak out and everybody would panic. If they showed up in force like that, it would scare the people just like the government's afraid of. Well, but then if they showed up like they did on V, that television program, where they showed up and said, "Hi, we're here to make peace," everyone will, "Oh no, they got to be reptilians and they're going to eat us." And then if they're not, then, oh my God, they're going to take us over, and what's happening. And the government it's the same thing that Dan Brown wrote about with Jesus. The government doesn't want that to happen, because then who do we listen to? If those people are the rulers of the universe that we live in, that means they're our bosses. So do we stop listening to the government now and we start listening to them? It's the same thing with Dan Brown writing about the God gene.
Yeah.
If Jesus had an offspring, and then who do the people follow? The bloodline of Jesus or the church? So the church was hunting down the bloodline to kill it off so that there wouldn't be a bloodline. This is the same thing with UFOs. The government for a long time has searched out and bumped people off who were trying to spill the beans, because they don't want to lose their power. They don't want us to look at them and go, "Well, you're not really needed anymore, are you?"
No, hey.
That's what they're truly worried about. They're not worried about the people freaking out, running hysterical like the sky's falling like Chicken Little. They'll tell you what they're really afraid of is losing all of their power. We will look at the government in a half second and go, "Okay, so what good are you then? Because you can't. There's nothing you can do to stop them. So why are we listening to you? You're useless. You're fired."
Well, you would think that you would think that they would work together on an equal platform. I mean, an alien civilization would come here, work with the government, and the people start rebelling against the government. The aliens would say, "No, that's not what's going to happen." But you would have to have a good collaborative, working relationship with the alien race.
It's funny that you bring that up, because there is evidence throughout time that exact same thing has happened, and that aliens have come down and leveled whole cities and castles.
Yeah, no, it's like I
said,
man.
Funny thing that you bring that up, right?
Yeah.
Funny thing that you bring that up. And there was a couple of times in the Old Testament where God talks about coming down and getting annoyed with people because they were an affront to him and leveling whole cities of his own.
Mm-hmm.
In his what? How did he come down? I'm sorry. What did he come down in? How did God get here? Even in the Old Testament, they kind of hum and haw around that. The people who were taken up into God's what?
No, there's a lot of
sky. What were they in? I'm sorry. How did they keep going up in the sky? Was he floating on a cloud? What was he in?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly, but yeah, I mean, it's referenced pretty much to could be translated as aliens coming down and doing that. So yeah, I mean, it's all. I don't know, man. It's just a big old question mark in my head, and hopefully one day we'll get somewhere with it, But
well, that's what we're here for. That's what we're working on. I agree with you, because you get to an end point where, like you said, it's just a big question mark at that point. You're just kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop, and you just got to wait for the next bit of information that'll pop up. Yeah. The next guy who works for one of these companies who is about to die and comes out and says, "Here's some more information." Until that happens, we really don't have anything. So what we do, and what I'm doing with writing this book, is I'm trying to get the information out to the people who are questioning or starting to, the people who are trying to learn about it. What is this about? What is that alien thing? So I'm trying to get that information out to them. And by writing this book, I'm putting it in a format that is just like Dan Brown did. I'm putting it in a what-if format. Yeah. What if that stuff happened? What if it did happen? And what if there's aliens here now? And what if there's a shadow government? And what if this family stumbled onto it and now they're caught up in the middle of it? That's what this whole trilogy is about that. And it's a learning curve for those people who don't know anything about aliens whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And for them to go, wow, this is all the stuff that's going on. And then once they see that, what I'm hitting you with in the first book and what I hit you with in the second book is actual theory. So when you go at that point and say, well, let me go and take a look at these ancient alien sites, these UFO sites, you're going to find the same stuff from my book, and you're going to go, wow, wait a minute, this guy wrote this in his book, and this is what stuff I'm reading. So it's an educational platform, and I got a screenplay being written. as we speak. I also have a workup being written for a television series, screenplay for a television series, and we're gonna shoot this, raise it up the flagpole and see who salutes it. We're gonna shoot it to Hollywood. I would love to make movies out of this.
For the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to make the first book's not real long, but it hits you real hard with Ancient Aliens Theory, and it leads directly into the second book, which is going to lead into the third. And I could even write a prequel to it because I literally don't start it at the beginning. It's not the beginning of time. It's not the Anunnaki and that stuff that's happening. But I tell you about it. Yeah. It's happening now. When you're reading it, it's happening right as you're reading it. That's when it's supposed to be taking place. So and in real time, and then it goes forward from there. And there's this mad chase, scramble all across the United States. In fact, it starts out in Concord, California, where I grew up. And then when the guys are an adult, John, who's the anti-hero, he lives in Queen Creek, Arizona, because he works on the military base, which is underground, the secret one that's underground in the mountain that's just south of where I live. So that's where he works, and that's where it starts. So it literally goes from where I grew up to where I am now, and then goes all over the whole world. But it's literally about them getting caught up in the idea and uncovering this shadow government that's working behind the scenes. And there's aliens that are here, and they're working with the aliens. And like I said, I got a screenplay written. If the book goes well and sells well, hopefully they'll turn it into a movie, and we shoot it out there, and then I can get the other books out there, and hopefully in 10 years we would have seen 3 movies that I wrote. It'd be really nice.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And hey, I usually go to the top of the hour, but something has come up to where I'm going to end it maybe about 15 minutes early here. But
yeah, that's fine.
Leonard O'Neill, everybody look him up. You can find him on the 2 YouTube channels, one with an apostrophe. You know what? The links are everywhere. I think every link that I put out actually had your stuff in it.
Yeah. You can look up my books on. They're all on Amazon.
Right.
They're on Kindle. They're all at BarnesandNoble.com, AuthorHouse.com. You can look up my name there. You'll see the books. Orion Rising is the Ancient Alien book, and then the other books, one's about prepping, and the other one's about how to get out of debt. But
yeah, I was going to say I'll probably have you on again if you don't mind to talk about the doomsday prepping and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You just let me know the date, and we'll set it aside, and I'll talk about that all night too.
Okay, yeah. Hey, that sounds good to me, man, because I do like talking about that. I think it's important, just in case something truly does happen, and plus if you're in a survival situation. So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
One day
you can be driving down the street, you can be driving in the snow.
Yeah.
I'm out here in the desert. You can be driving along and get hit with a monsoon rain or a sandstorm really bad, and you can be stuck somewhere, and if you don't have anything to help you survive for a while, you may not make it. The one thing that kills people in this state is heat. Heat kills you in this state. And, if you don't have water, if you're not prepared to take care of yourself to find shelter, absolutely. We'll go on about this on another show.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. So, yeah, everybody check out the links on all the pages, all the groups. I'm sure they're out there. His Ancient Aliens.
It's literally the Ancient Aliens. Go and look up groups on Facebook.
It's got about 33,000.
There's like 3 or 4 of them that are named Ancient Aliens. Mine don't have any. It doesn't have any capital letters, but you'll see if you look up the administrators, you'll see me on there as the owner, and then you'll know that it's my group. It's the one that has as you look at the back of my book, the picture on the back of the book is the Giza Plateau with a alien spaceship floating above the pyramids. That's the back cover of the book. That's actually the wallpaper of my group. When you log in, you're going to be looking at the 3 pyramids with the spaceship above it, hovering above it. That's my Ancient Aliens group.
Cool. Yeah, I'm already a member, so yeah, very very cool, man. Leonard, thank you very much for coming on and talking with me, man.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. I enjoyed talking to you, man. It was really really cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and like I said, anytime you want to talk about the prepping, let me know. We'll go on about that for a couple hours too.
Sounds good. Sounds good, Leonard. Yeah. So with that, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. Paranormal Into the Night Facebook group. Join. I'll also check the website www.pitnradionetwork.com. You'll find everything there. And that's about it. And peace out.